Last TikTok before I go to bed, it's about the Switch 2. If you see anybody playing it and reviewing it in any kind of positive light, be like, oh, you know, some of the stuff they're doing is kind of scummy. Kind of scummy? You don't own the console. You don't own the games. You have a license to play the games. You have a license to use the console. You don't actually own it. They updated their terms of service intentionally to do that. That's not a myth. That's not made up. That's a real thing that they're doing, because that way you're not allowed to change anything about the Switch. You want to do different Joy-Cons because theirs suck? Too bad. That's modifying it. You use a USB port that it's not supposed to be used, or it does anything a little bit weird and the console picks up on it, guess what it's going to do? It's going to brick itself, and you're not going to be able to use it anymore. And then the only way you'll be able to get it back is to submit an official review, probably to Nintendo, and be like, yeah, no, I didn't do anything to it. It's just broken. And they're going to be like, oh, okay, we'll turn it back on. That's insane. Any person who reviews the Switch 2 in a positive light in any kind of way is ignoring the fact that it is the like epitome of corporate greed. If I'm paying $450 for anything, I fucking own it. The idea that I can't do anything I want with the thing that I paid for is insane. So again, if anybody you know, or if any streamer you know, or YouTuber or TikToker or anybody like that is buying it and reviewing it in a positive light, tell them to go to therapy, because they don't have any self-respect.
The Switch 2 is now out, and many people are regretting that they ever purchased it. Many big YouTubers and influencers are telling others, do not purchase the Switch 2. How is this going to affect Nintendo going forward? And what implications will it have for the gaming industry? Watch to the end of the video to have all of these questions answered. Don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. Our Rumble is linked in the description of the video. And guys, don't let these companies convince you that you will own nothing and be happy. This only illustrates why we have to invest in crypto. Go and check out Angry's Crypto Academy to learn how to buy, sell, trade, and make massive profit using crypto. It is linked in the description of the video. And now let's go ahead and jump right into the videos.
Hey guys, we're going to do a Nintendo Switch 2 unboxing. I already opened it. JK, so we went to the pawn shop and we got a Nintendo Switch Lite. We took advantage of the Switch 2, and instead of getting key, what did they call it? The bullshit that you don't even own games? Yeah, I'm owning my games right now. And I just got WarioWare Move It. And then I got Doki Doki Literature Club. And I'm gonna decorate my shit with stickers. Fuck the Switch 2. Fuck it.
A license, bro. Everybody is standing in line for the Nintendo Switch 2, not to own the console, not to own the games, but everybody is standing in line for the Nintendo Switch 2 for a license, bro. A license. You don't own it. All y'all people that's out there standing in line, these lines going around Target, these lines going around Best Buy, you do not own that thing. I want y'all to get that through your head. You're about to pay $700, $600 for a license. Let that sink in. A license. Which, guess what? If you break terms and conditions, they can revoke that license and brick your console. I have never seen nothing like this. I'm praying to God that it's illegal. But right now, I'm not going to play with fire and go get one and then hope to God that the FTC or that somebody in the government decides, okay, let's enforce this and tell Japan that you can't do that in the United States. I'm just not going to buy it until that's clear.
Hey there gamers, Dreamcast Guy here, and this is the Nintendo Switch 2, a device I got last night. I decided to play it pretty much nonstop. I've just spent the last 12 hours playing every exclusive, every new feature, testing stuff out, popping off Joy-Cons and stuff, and I gotta say that immediately, even after that first 12 hours, I kind of regret buying it. This thing just feels like it really lacks that Nintendo spark, that charm, that specialness that made the original Nintendo Switch so great. This thing, honestly, feels lazy.
It's over. And it's so, believe me, incredibly sad. We tried telling the Nintendo Switch 2 fanboys that the cracks were indeed starting to show with the Nintendo Switch 2, but they didn't want to listen. Oh no. And that's because they were too busy going... Too busy, believe me, doing stupid, silly crap like that at the end of the day is going to get them nowhere. Nintendo has created, whether they like it or not, another Wii U, and it's a total disaster. We have right here Cyberpunk 2077, on the Nintendo Switch 2. World Class has to come in and dissect this slop. By the way, terrible game, can't recommend it. And we also have this console right here, the Nintendo Switch 2, which quite frankly is a do not buy from my perspective, that I could tell you. It should be obvious on why that is, but you don't care. You saw the sign out front and you're lining up to do one thing and one thing only, and that's consume. You don't care. You never have, and believe me, you never will. And that's because you were too busy going,
I bought the brand new Nintendo Switch 2, and in this video, we're going to unbox it, test it out, and see what this bad boy can do. Guys, next up I wanted to see if you could pull the Joy-Cons off of the Switch without pressing the little trigger. So usually you press the trigger and it pops off. I wonder if you can just like pull it off though without pressing the trigger. So I'm going to grab it right here. And yeah, it comes off. Okay, so that's going to be an issue at some point in time. Like, it took some force, but like, that did not take that much force, guys. This is going to, at some point in time, I swear, like, you're going to walk around like this and it's going to fall apart. They're just going to start becoming detached. It really did not take that much force to just pull it off. Well, actually, another news, guys, wow, look at that. Mario Kart World is finally working at 3:01 a.m. It's finally downloading. You gotta be kidding me, man. Maybe wait 3 hours. Thanks. Okay, guys, well, here's another thing for our Switch 2 next-gen console. You can see right now we're at 2% downloading Super Mario Kart World, and it's paused because I have a game open. I'll be honest, I don't remember if that was a thing on the Switch, but this is the Switch 2. This is 2025. It's supposed to be the upgrade. Why does it... Look, there it goes. It's resuming now that I closed the game. Why does it only work when I... when I have a game closed? We really can't download games in the background here in 2025. So guys, I've been playing Super Mario Odyssey for a little bit now, and I want to give you I want to do a little test here. So first of all, I pull this thing out, and it's pretty dang hot on the back. So I want to give you a thermal reading of just a kind of a ballpark of what it looks like on the back in terms of heat. You'll see what I mean here in a minute, but first of all, let me show you the thermal test. All right, guys, console is out of the dock, and as you can see, it's very hot in this little corner here. I would assume we got some chips up there. There's also a lot of heat up there where the ventilation is. And also down at the bottom, just the entire back is pretty hot. So you can see here in the hottest part, we're at about 92 degrees Fahrenheit.
I don't care how good the Switch 2 games are the Switch 2 good in itself? It's only one reason why I will not be getting a Switch 2 anytime soon. And it's mainly because if you mod it or try to enhance it in any way, instant break. And I'm not forcing y'all or telling y'all boycott. No. If you truly feel like it's more of a bang for your buck, or you're a content creator and you like playing Nintendo games, yo, more power to you. I really like how well they enhance the games, like for Smash Ultimate and Zelda Breath of the Kingdom, or I don't know. I don't play Zelda. And I saw gameplay of Mario Kart Worlds, and I thought that junk looked spectacular. And I know the new Donkey Kong game is going to look crazy on that. And all these other games that's coming out for the Switch, man, more power to y'all, because it looks like a pretty cool console. But I just can't get behind that policy that they have. And yeah, I'm voting with my wallet. And you don't have to do the same. It's just my opinion. Listen, it's just my opinion. I want to get that clear. But yeah, that's my reason.
So guys, people are finally beginning to step forward and say, you know what? I regret purchasing the Nintendo Switch 2. It was a terrible decision. It was a waste of my money. There's the notion of just consume. But guess what? Everyone has a breaking point. You have guys like OJ, from Player Essence. You know, he's always on the Spawn Wave, our Spawncast show that happens on Saturdays, usually when he can be. And here's the thing: this guy is a person who is very supportive of Nintendo, and yet he sold his Steam Deck, which he actually did enjoy, evidently, because he just could not afford to just, own it compared to purchasing other things. So this is a person who does not have that type of disposable income. He's a pretty large Nintendo YouTuber, but I believe he has kids, so he doesn't have bread like that. And he had to sell his Steam Deck just so he can buy other things. And he's going to go and buy a Nintendo Switch 2. He's a Nintendo YouTuber. And he's going to go and buy a Nintendo Switch 2 and then pay $80 per game. Yeah, bro, it's not happening. If you can barely afford a Steam Deck, all right, to keep your Steam Deck, which you, by the way, you enjoyed, and he's always like selling other things, evidently, then you're not going to be able to afford the Nintendo Switch 2. Okay? You're not going to be able to afford these $80 games. I have Cyberpunk. I have Cyberpunk 2077 on GOG and on Steam. Why do I have it on both? Because they were so damn cheap. Like what I paid for them on GOG and on Steam, I may have paid less to buy these Cyberpunk 2077 on GOG with all the DLC and on Steam with all the DLC than it would cost to actually buy the physical copy of the game for $70 for the Nintendo Switch with inferior graphics. You've got to be kidding me. And a game that you do not own, because you don't own it. I own my version of Cyberpunk 2077 on good old games, on GOG. That cannot be taken away from me. If I don't back up my files and they shut down, sure. But I own the offline installers. Those can never be taken away from me. I own The Witcher with all the DLC via GOG. I own my games. Okay? So I cannot resell the digital versions, but I was able to save a lot of money buying digitally. I have over 400 games on GOG. Guys, people are beginning to wake up and realize that they want you to own nothing. These companies want you to own nothing. And all of these idiots that went and did this, now they're crying. And there are reports going around now that Nintendo is actually bricking consoles. It started where like they're detecting that people are, trying to do small things with the console, like, oh, a port is covered, or again, these are just reports that are coming in. If they are true, I don't know. But there are already reports coming in that people are experiencing issues with their Switch consoles. And now you have to call Nintendo and basically tell them, oh, I didn't do anything. Could you please turn my console back on? And Nintendo's like, okay, yeah, we'll turn it back on. So basically you have to have permission now to use the device. How stupid do you have to be to go and purchase this? To spend $1,000 for this? And the people who are purchasing this, they can't afford it. They cannot afford this thing. They want you to believe that they can afford it. They cannot afford it. If you look at even in the CPU market, like for example, CPUs, GPUs, when it comes to GPUs, most people are not spending $3,000 for a GPU. Most people are picking up like a 4060 or, I don't want to say 5060 because the 5060 is total crap right now. Not the 16 gigabyte version. That's a GPU that just came out. But it's like the people are picking up $300 or at most $500 GPUs. A lot of people are picking up even cheaper, like sub $300 GPUs that have incredible performance and that allow you to do great, that have good 1440p or even 4K performance. But they're not going with GPUs that are costing $3,000 like people want you to believe. Only YouTubers are really out here doing things like that, to be very honest with you. Most of the people that are picking up these GPUs are like data centers and business that are using them for AI and for things like that. But the average person is not really investing in this garbage as the way they want you to believe. And this Nintendo Switch 2 is absolute. People are like having such buyer's remorse right now for going in and buying a piece of paperweight that when Nintendo deactivates it, you can't even use it anymore. Which is the reason why I keep on telling you guys to go and learn about crypto, learn how it works, so that you could. Because guys, that's exactly what's happening right now. We're moving over to a completely digital economy where you won't even be able to have access or easily use paper money in stores. You're like, cash is king. But yeah, but what if no one accepts it anymore? They have to. There's a lot of people who are not connected to reality. When the ATM stopped working and you can't use your cash anymore, or no one wants it, what are you going to do? That's what happened in Venezuela. And you know how they survived? They survived using cryptocurrency. And I keep telling you guys, learn crypto. Don't accept the garbage from companies like Nintendo that are telling you you will own nothing and be happy. Do not do it. And guys, as console gaming fades into history, the PC master race is rising from its ashes, stronger, faster, and more customizable than ever. Don't get left behind in the dust. Angry Guys Arcade is your gateway to affordable PC gaming, personalized gaming advice, and the latest news shaping the future of gaming. The link is in the description. Go check it out now.
3 reasons why the Nintendo Switch 2 friggin' sucks. First of all, the goddamn price. $800 Canadian after tax in Ontario, Canada for the damn thing. You got prices going crazy, rent is unaffordable, groceries unaffordable, you can't even get leisure time anymore. Number 2, you got the stupid little 90 degrees oscillating stand. A friggin' quality of life upgrade that could have been easily put to the Nintendo Switch 1, but they saved it for the Nintendo Switch 2. What's the big friggin' deal? You're gonna play it docked anyways against the plasma TV. You're not gonna sit there like an incel on your beanbag chair on the goddamn friggin' gut of your goddamn belly button. Number friggin' 3, the stupid game chat mic. I do not want a spy device in my goddamn house so it can listen to every single goddamn thing I'm saying. It's going to be listening to your parents fighting in the background because your dad's having an affair, your mom's having an affair, they can't pay rent, they don't know what to do about poor little Timmy. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Think twice before you try to buy this stupid console that has been...
I just finished watching this video from Gaming Tech about the Switch 2 display, and I couldn't believe how bad it is. Look, I did a quick search to see how much more money Nintendo had to spend to upgrade the original Switch to an OLED. $10. Can you believe that? I understand the Switch 2 has a bigger display, but they are asking for more money already. So how can they ask for more money and give you less picture quality? Okay? Even a small kid could complain about the Switch 2 looking washed out because they know what an OLED is. They play with their phones and tablets all day long. So they might see that, it doesn't look good. The colors are gonna look washed out, everything, because the black floor, it affects the contrast, and the contrast is the most important attribute of picture quality.
I've been playing on the Switch 2 for a couple of hours, and I've got some concerns. Let's talk about it. In case you missed it, yesterday I lined up and got myself a Switch 2, and yes, I've already gotten the comments, I bashed Nintendo, yet I went out and bought a console. Newsflash, I talk about video games. Having the latest console is kind of part of the gig. Anyway, I did line up, and there was really exciting energy there. Everybody was really looking forward to the new console, and I was able to get one. Once I got home, I unboxed it, and I spent most of the day playing with it, and there's a couple of things that really stand out that are a little disappointing. Now, it's definitely much more advanced looking, and it does look more premium than the original Switch did. But here are the 3 things that really stick out to me. The Joy-Cons are still really uncomfortable to hold, so using it in a mouse form seems like it's going to be really, really uncomfortable to do. A real surprising part was the dock. It's really flimsy, and on top of that, when you sit the Switch inside of it, it's loose. It feels like you're going to scratch up your Switch or it's just going to fall out. But I think the biggest problem is that there are no system sellers. I got the Mario Kart bundle, and Mario Kart does look really pretty, but it doesn't feel like the next generation. It just feels like it's a Switch Pro. The Zelda games do look really impressive, running at a full 60 frames a second with HDR and everything. But there's just nothing that makes me go, wow, this is a huge upgrade. When you've got the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles out there, it doesn't really feel that impressive. And I feel like that might be a concern for Nintendo, especially with all the business decisions that they've made. It may make it hard for people to really want to buy this thing when it's so expensive.
It just came out. Like, it's happening to people already. Like, I can't... Wait, what? Yeah, if it detects anything weird with your Switch, it bricks it. So you just have a very expensive paperweight, which is what the first Switch was for me, but still. And the fact that people are getting scammed by, if you buy a physical copy, you just download a copy from the store. How much weird shit happens here all the time, right? And some people said in the demo consoles that they already had stick drift. It feels like if you're buying a Switch console right now, that is basically you're doing like, just like this. All hail Nintendo. Nintendo is always right. I don't mind that my games, even physical, are no longer physical games. All hail Nintendo. Mario, our gaming god.
Hey there gamers, Dreamcast Guy here, and today we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 because yay, the most expensive Nintendo game ever is here. It's Mario Kart World, and I've been playing it, and I gotta admit that now, after having played every track, unlocked the secret tracks, unlocked a lot of the characters, a lot of the alternate skins, a lot of the special carts and stuff, I'm disappointed by this because this really doesn't feel like classic Nintendo, classic greatness. And also, the fact that this is the most expensive Nintendo game of all time, I expected more. And in a lot of ways, it's way less fun than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I really don't get it, but let me break it down, and let me break down the 3 phases of World, because Mario Kart World is 3 separate styles of game in it. There's knockout races, there's Grand Prix, and there's the open world stuff, which is just, oh my god, so boring. But let me begin. Okay, so first and foremost, what is Mario Kart World, and what is it trying to do that previous ones weren't? So this game is very much about size. It's about speed. It's about going from point A to point B instead of just doing laps on a track. Now, when it just comes to raw tracks, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe obviously had 96 tracks. Completely bonkers. This has about 30. Now, they try to make up for the lack of numbers with just sheer scale. My big problem is the pacing itself. So, the way this game works is that instead of just doing the track and then doing the next track, which is how every other Mario Kart ever has always worked, Grand Prix is always a 4-track series. The better you do, the higher you place, the more points you get. Whoever has the most points at the end of it wins the big gold trophy, right? But instead, what they do in this now is you do a race and then you have to drive across the world to get to the next track, and it immediately starts the next race. So instead of just having like a cool fight in a volcano, or you're up in the clouds or doing Rainbow Road, instead you start in like a desert or in a stadium or something like that. You drive from the previous course to the next course. And I feel like I just don't like this because these in-between areas, to me, feel very, very basic. Let me tell you about what Knockout is. So, this is the completely new mode just invented for World Tour. And it is purely those in-between tracks. Maybe I'm missing something, but it just feels like those weird times where you're driving from point A to point B to get to the track that's actually fun. Knockout mode is only the in-betweens. It is a combination of like 5 in-between tracks, and you have to try to be the first one to finish. Every time you pass from one track to the next, it kills a couple of the players in the back. It goes, oh, you have to be in 20th. Oh, you got to be in 18th. You got to be in 12th. And then it slowly picks everybody off until you're the last man standing. It sounds like a good idea, and I think it could be fun in a normal track. I do not like this big biome, this empty space. To me, that's how it feels. It just felt like empty space. Riding down a river or bouncing off clouds and stuff sounds cool in concept, but I like the track format. And for me, knockout mode just didn't really feel like it had that tightness that makes Mario Kart so fun. I don't want to just drive in a straight line or down a big hill. It just didn't really make sense. So going back to Grand Prix, one of the weirdness about this is that what happens is each of these races now, you'll start at a location, you drive to the track, and then you still have to do 3 laps on the track. So it definitely feels a bit like filler. A lot of times I was doing good and trying to pick up coins and stuff so I'm faster when I get to the actual track, but something about this just feels overly spacious for no reason. This first version of it, I don't really care about. I think the new items kind of suck. The hammers, the ice flower, the coin shell, none of that's too good. It feels like everything is too easy to just dodge. What are we doing here? Okay, so these have been some off-the-cuff thoughts. If I had to give it a number, I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10 because of the price. If you somehow got this game for free, I think you'd have fun for a day or two. But if you're looking for like the depth of any other Mario Kart, this ain't it.
And guys, I think you can see that even people like Dreamcast guy, who often gets called PlayStation guy or Nintendo guy, are pissed off. Because no matter how much you want to shill a specific product, you don't have unlimited amounts of money. You don't have unlimited amounts of funds. We're all adults. And we have to provide for ourselves. Many of us have children. I was watching Stuttering Craig today on Side Scrollers. I had no idea that Stuttering Craig had children that were that old. And he said his youngest daughter, she's 13. So I'm guessing he must have an older daughter, obviously. And I don't know how old she is. And, he mentioned that his younger daughter didn't even know that the Switch 2 was coming out, and she was like, oh, the Switch 2 is out, and she just really didn't show any interest in it. And he kind of pointed out that most of the people that are looking at the Switch 2 right now are oldies like us, like 35-year-old people, people in their 40s and even 50s. And it's kind of sick. It's kind of sick when you see this. Like, we got finessed. We need to be completely honest and just admit that Nintendo finessed us. But with that said, I do want to thank every single one of you that said, don't buy the Switch to me. Don't buy the Switch 2 for the sake of reviewing it. Because there were a lot of you who were like, just don't buy it. You're like, I'll be disappointed in you if you buy it after you said all of these things. And my response was, listen, I cover these topics. I should, I would feel like a hypocrite not picking it up, and reviewing it for you guys, but please don't buy it. And I'm so grateful that many of you are like, still don't buy it, and I have not bought it. I put down like somewhere between $60 and $70. I don't think it was 70, but it was like $60 and $70 for the pre-order. I'd have to look at the receipt. At GameStop, I waited like 2 to 3 hours in the damn line. And you know what's so funny about it? I haven't picked it up, and I'm so grateful because now all of these people who went and purchased it, they are full-blown having meltdowns, having dropped $1,000 on this turd, and they're realizing that they don't own anything. It absolutely sucks. Nintendo finessed them. What Nintendo did, they didn't have to do. And now this is only going to just reveal to more and more people how much Nintendo doesn't like you. And they're showing you, they've showed you who they were for a very long time. And we basically chose to just accept it and look right through it. And the thing is, like, with the Wii U failed. The Wii U was a great device. It failed because Nintendo did not properly convey to people what the Wii U actually was. I didn't know if the Wii U was an actual console. I didn't know, like, was it a console? Was the console the Wiimote pad, whatever the heck, the tablet? I didn't know what it was, and Nintendo failed to properly convey that. Had they properly conveyed it, I think it would have been extremely popular because there's a lot of people like me who only use their Switch at home. They don't really take it on the go with them. Of course, it's great being able to take it on the go, but a lot of people don't actually take it on the go with them. It's nice being able to just play in bed, or play while sitting on the couch. It's like pulling out the handheld. That is a big function of it. And a lot of people would be more than happy to trade the ability to take it outside of the home for just being able to just chill and play at home and play in bed. Nintendo failed with that. That was the real reason why the Wii U failed. They were coming off the very successful era of the Wii, and they called it the Wii U. It was a big mistake probably calling it the Wii U as well, because it implied that it was still going to have motion controls when it had literally nothing to do with those motion controls. They should have made it clear that this was something very different. It was a completely different experience. You could still use motion controls and the Wiimote from the original device, but they wanted to add something new to the experience, and they failed to absolutely do that. In the case of the Nintendo Switch 2, no, bro, this is like terrible terms of service. This is literally, we'll brick your console. This is $80 games, $90 games, $120 games. Like, you literally have Nintendo, like a Mario Kart World costing $120 over in Canada, I believe. Like, this is like, no, in Australia, like, this is the console itself. I heard is like $700 in Australia, I believe. Are you insane? And I understand that there's a difference in the valuation of our money, but that's still a massive amount of money. Like, who the hell is going to pick up at $700 Australian dollars? This is madness. This is nonsense. Who the hell in Canada can afford this thing, especially with their economy going to hell right now? And then Nintendo sells this for $331 in Japan and $450 in the United States for this underpowered piece of crap? You've got to be kidding me. They finessed us so hard. And it was you really have to be a fool to have picked it up. But, I don't care, because the people who were foolish enough to go and get it, despite knowing everything that was coming, they basically are getting what's coming to them. And I'm guessing that they won't be able to just return it very easily. I don't know. I personally don't know. I know that, like, these devices usually do have a return window, so maybe they will. I think that a lot of people are going to return the Switch too. I think a lot of people are going to, if they can return it, because I've bought stuff at Best Buy, and they usually have like a 30-day or 15-day return window. They may have reduced it to like 15 days. I think, guys, you're going to see a bunch of people returning the Nintendo Switch 2 saying, yeah, this ain't it, Chief. I want my money back. And It's gonna be so bad that you'll have like them like they're gonna torture these people like, oh, you're gonna have to wait long in line and long lines trying to return it. It's going to be absolutely terrible. I know that there's a way of returning these devices. Uh, I know there's a way of returning these devices by sending them back in through the mail. I don't know how successful people will be with that. That might be one of the best options for people to use. I will tell you, I had a horrible experience where I purchased a Zephyrus, a 2024 Zephyrus from Best Buy. The damn thing was broken. I was with like Microsoft tech support. I learned so much that night trying to fix the damn thing. Like, it was insane. It was a horrible thing. I was almost in tears. I had to send it back, and one of you had actually told me, don't get the Zephyrus, get a Strix, and I didn't want to listen. In the end, after I returned the Zephyrus, which cost over like $3,000, so it had a 4090 in it, I ended up returning it, and then I was like, you know what, instead of getting the Zephyrus, maybe I'm going to go and look at the Strix after all. When I looked at the Strix, the specs, and everything that was really there, it was like the version that I wanted was the 4070 in the first place. Yes, it had a lot less VRAM compared to the Zephyrus, but it had a much more advanced cooling system. It was much larger. I did not like the touchpad on the Zephyrus in the first place, and the touchpad on the Strix was perfect because it gave me like the soft click, very similar to the way that the original Macs were before they implemented the motorized form of touch, the haptic touch. And as a result of that, I was able to customize it to the point where now my Windows 11 Strix, I ended up purchasing the Strix, ends up working very much like my MacBook did. So, like, for example, if I want to move around, like swipe to the left, swipe to the right, I can do that. If I want to, I disabled the touchpads feature where you can just like tap on it, like you don't press on it, you can just tap to like right click and stuff. Disabled all of that garbage. It's no longer double click. I disabled double click, so now you just literally press, like you can press an app, press an icon, boom, everything opens. So I've given it very much a MacBook feel. So it was an incredible decision. I ended up going with that, but like when it comes to Best Buy, it was a nightmare trying to return the Zephyrus. It took weeks trying to return it. It took weeks trying to get my money back. They treated me horribly. They gaslit me. I ended up having to go through my credit card company. I used Chase to purchase it. I had to actually put in a request with Chase, like, listen, I want my money back. They're not returning my money to me. Because there were like all kinds of stuff. There was stuff that I purchased with it, and Chase basically ended up putting a hold on the funds. And eventually, like, funny enough, after they did put the hold on it, because it took like a month to get my money back, a month to return and get my money back. Almost, it was more like 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. But they finally did return it, and then like Chase took the hold off, and it was just a nightmare. So people trying to return this thing to Best Buy, like, be prepared. Best Buy is terrible when it comes to returning their products. A lot of the products, that you get from Best Buy, they often have malfunctions. So people who try to return a Nintendo Switch 2, they may end up in a world of hurt. And Best Buy probably already is, like Best Buy and GameStop, all of these stores already realize that there probably will be really high rates of return. GameStop will do everything to prevent you from returning it, and may say that, oh, based on our policy, you can only it's only store credit. And a lot of people are going to feel really pissed off because, like, after spending all of these hours waiting to purchase this thing, sometimes, it's like, are you really going to go and return it for like $500? Well, not even $500, because the damn device itself is $500 just with the taxes and then the game and the controller and all that other crap. Yeah, like this is like it's like $700 minimum, are depending on, like, if you purchase multiple games, then like we're talking about $1,000 with an SD card and like two more games. That's $1,000. So yeah, people absolutely may end up returning it. They may not be able to return the games, but they may be able to return the device, and they may be able to return the games for store credit or trade them in. It's gonna be it's a nightmare. It's an apps, and again, GameStop already knows this, so they'll basically try to use that to sell you other stuff. Oh my gosh, guys, this is a horrible situation. Nintendo has destroyed their trust with their consumer. They don't care. They're basically like, trust. There's not. I said this already. There's not going to be any more trust me, bro. Like, Nintendo's not going to be able to pull this off again. Like, trust me, bro, because there's no trust. You can't sue us. Blah blah blah. And they're already saying that arbitration agreement that Nintendo forced you into signing, now where you can no longer sue them, you have to go into mandatory arbitration, is potentially illegal. And even then, because of what they've done now in some states like California, you actually have to, the company that forces arbitration actually has to pay for the lawyer fees, offset arbitration. So what law firms end up doing is they basically just gather a bunch of people together, because you cannot sue them and join class action lawsuits. That's what Nintendo says, you cannot join a class action lawsuit. What they end up doing, the law firms end up doing, is saying, okay, well, we're going to find like a bunch of people who, you know, want to sue Nintendo and are forced into arbitration. We're just going to gather them up and file a mass lawsuits together, mass arbitrations together, and then the company has to pay for all of these arbitrations. And the longer that they keep the arbitrations going, the better it is for the law firm. So even if the person who files the arbitration doesn't get a lot of money out of it or anything at all, they lose literally nothing, and they can stick it 100% to the company by filing the arbitration with the company, because you have nothing to lose in these cases. The law firm's like, we will do everything. You will not pay for anything. The most that you end up losing is the time that you came to speak to me and whatever. Even if you don't get a single dollar, they have to pay us all of this money. Okay? We're not going to share any of that with you, but they're going to have to pay us all of this money just for this arbitration. So no matter what happens, they still lose. And we're going to mass file these arbitrations one after another. And the longer that we file these arbitrations, the longer that the arbitration goes, the longer it takes to settle, because it could take years going through all of them, the more Nintendo is going to have to pay out. So this basically means that even if you don't get a single dime, you don't actually have to do anything, because Nintendo is still losing hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars. I actually did a simple calculation, guys. And this is the calculation. If the average lawyer cost $50,000, if the average arbitration costs $50,000, right? $50,000 for the average arbitration, because they're able to drag it out, right? And Nintendo has to pay the attorneys for that. Now, multiply that by 1 million angry customers, 1 million angry Nintendo consumers who are going to basically agree to these arbitration, agree to work with a law firm who's going to do all of the work. And even if they don't get anything, Nintendo's still going to get screwed, which is more than enough for the average consumer. And if they do win, they'll get some money in their pocket. Even if it's not much, you don't have to do anything. The law firm is doing everything. If it costs $50,000 for the average arbitration, right, per consumer, and let's say just 1 million people, of the 1 million people, and you have to understand, it's not just 1 million, it's not just the people who are buying Nintendo Switch 2, it's all 150 million people who currently own a Switch 1, that now those devices can also be bricked and you've lost your right to sue them and all this other garbage. Everyone who owns a Switch 1 is affected, not just the Switch 2. So if all of these people who currently own Nintendo Switches, not even all of them, just even less than 1% of them, all right, 1 million people say, yeah, we're going to file these arbitrations. We're going to do these arbitrations against Nintendo. And they live in states where Nintendo has to cover those fees. This is the reason why Valve basically changed their policies, because they were worried about the whole mass arbitration filing thing. If just 1 million people does this, all right, and gets pissed off, and they're able to file mass arbitrations, law firms are able to file mass arbitrations, let's say just in the state of California, which has this policy, I believe, right? And Nintendo has to pay for them, and it's $50,000 each of those people. That's the cost for the law firm. If 1 million people do this, that's $50 billion. Nintendo only has just about $14 billion, to my understanding, in cash. They have about $14 billion in cash at Nintendo right now. The company's worth, to my understanding, around $100 billion. But those are just shares. And the company's value can begin falling rapidly. So if Nintendo gets hit with less than just 1% of their consumer base, less than 1%, y'all, of their consumer base files arbitrations, they would get hit, and each arbitration costs $50,000. That would cost Nintendo $50 billion. They only have around $14 billion in cash. So there's no possible way. There's no possible way Let's go. Let's be more conservative. Let's be more conservative. Now look at the math. If each arbitration was only going to cost $10,000, which is unbelievably ridiculous, all right? But even $10,000, that's extremely low. And it's still 1 million people. That is $10 billion. $10 billion. Are you guys seeing the math right now? Are you realizing what's happening? So you have all of these people that are filing these arbitrations. Nintendo is losing all of this money. And on top of it, the Nintendo Switch 2 is not generating money for them the way that the Switch 1 did. And there's a significant public backlash against them. Guys, they thought that they could fight the entire world, right? They thought they could fight the entire world, but can they really fight the entire world? And now imagine, we're not just talking about in the United States. What about in other countries where people get pissed off with Nintendo's policies and they're like, we don't want you here. Like the EU, Nintendo tried to structure their new user agreement in a way where it doesn't affect the EU like it affects the United States, or it's not as restrictive. But the EU is just looking for they're just looking for small things to go after Nintendo. Back in 2002, the EU filed Nintendo. The EU fined Nintendo the equivalent of $147 million for anti-competitive behavior and price fixing in different regions in the European Union. 147 million back in 2002. So that's over 20 years ago. That's 23 years ago. And Nintendo still didn't learn their lesson. They actually appealed the decision and they lost. And Nintendo is still doing this BS. Y'all, it's not looking good for them. And I don't feel bad for Nintendo one bit at all. And guys, I have an opinion here from Andy, who also has a YouTube channel, Andy Matrix. It will be linked in the description of the video, so you can go check him out. And now let's go ahead and jump right in.
The Nintendo Switch 2 is a scam. It's a scam. I mean, if you think about it, nowadays, everything is a scam. And the reason why a lot of things today is a scam, because companies don't want you to own anything, right? They don't want you to own anything. They want you to use the product, take your money, while you do not own anything. Okay, you don't own anything. Hence the same. I mean, they weren't kidding. They really weren't kidding. That evil dude, Charles Schwab, that German dude, right? He wasn't kidding when he said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. This was like, 10 years ago he said this? In 2016, I think it was.
Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now.
You will own nothing and be happy. That's crazy. That is nuts, bro. That is nuts, dude. And it's actually happening. And, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because we saw this coming from 2020 all the way to like 2023, 2024. We were all saying that, oh, well, Sony's going digital, Xbox going digital, everything's going digital. People don't buy CDs anymore. Everything's digital. But you know what? Nintendo is keeping it traditional. Yeah, Nintendo's keeping it traditional. They still have physical games. They got the cartridge. You can own your own games, right? Nintendo's keeping it traditional. They're not going to betray the consumer, blah, blah, blah. So the future is PC gaming and Nintendo. So we thought.
All right, so Nintendo Switch 2 purchasers are absolutely fuming after finding out what some GameStop employees had done to their system after they opened it. Alright, so purchasers of the Switch 2 from GameStop, they realized upon opening that there were two little holes in their screen, and they realized that was because GameStop employees actually stapled the receipt onto the actual box itself. Now, this didn't just happen to like 1 or 2 people. No, there were tons of people who had purchased from GameStop to where this happened. Now, it's not completely the employee's fault. Obviously, I don't think you should staple anything to a box with a screen in it, but really, the packaging should really be in question here as well. And consumers' criticisms of this are completely warranted. I mean, 150 price increase from the first Switch, and they can't even get decent packaging to resist a simple staple. I mean, GameStop is hanging by an absolute thread, and they go and do something like this. I mean, it's on the stores as well for not training employees not to do this. Now, obviously, this falls on the store, and they're going to have to do a lot of exchanges here, which is absolutely crazy since it just came out. And that right there is enough to completely destroy a gaming experience.
I tell you, I'm telling you, I am telling you, people aren't joking. People aren't joking. Oh, yeah, and apparently the Nintendo Switch 2 is pretty easy to hack, so they didn't do a really good job with the software. Man, they don't want you to own the games, but at the same time, what if somebody hacks? What if somebody hacks your Nintendo Switch and gets your information, like your credit card number or something like that? Man, that is scary.
To everyone who said the Switch 2 is unhackable, you were completely wrong. It has been less than 24 hours, and this shit already got an exploit running on it. Listen, I am not as smart as you think I am. I don't really know how to explain what this guy did. But he got a graphics demo running on the Switch 2. So I asked my friend, Damn It Jeff, you guys probably know him, he's a YouTuber. He does the type of shit I do. I asked him, like, what this means, and in so many words, it's basically a step in the right direction. It's not, like, an actual exploit that we can get running right now, but it's technically, by textbook definition, homebrew, because somebody got the Switch 2 to run something that it's not supposed to be running. It's been less than 24 hours. So yeah, I would say, at most by Christmas, we might have a small firmware exploit that we're able to run. Maybe not, I don't know.
But yeah, people aren't too happy. People aren't too happy. And the only people that are kind of happy with their purchase with Nintendo Switch 2, it's is those people that are like super duper fanboys that no matter what Nintendo does, they're going to stick, they're always going to stick to Nintendo no matter what. Like the PlayStation fanboys, they always find reasons why it's okay. Kind of like the people who defend, the $80 video game price. Right, $100 video game price. There's people that defend that, which I find that kind of ridiculous. Anyways, back to Nintendo Switch 2.
Hey, did you hear? The Nintendo Switch 2 just dropped. So? I don't fucking care! Shit is $500 fucking dollars and it's the beginning of summer. Like, I'm an adult, I got bills to pay. Like, you couldn't have done this shit around Christmas?
Everybody's hyped up about the Switch 2 release, but I'm just sitting here going, wow, this is absolutely a joke. Nintendo owns the rights to all your games. You actually don't even own them. You gotta download them over the internet via these keycards, which is pretty pathetic. Nintendo is releasing a handheld console, the Switch 2. We should be able to own the games that we play, but we don't. It's way different than anything like Steam. Again, it's a repository for a ton of online digital games. They don't actually manufacture physical copies. Nintendo does, but they went the lazy way, and they also went the greedy way by owning the games. I just can't believe this, because this essentially makes the Switch 2 like the PlayStation Portal that everybody complains about, is you need internet to even download the full game to your system. What about the people who don't have internet? Then they just can't play any games, essentially. I think this is bogus, togus. Comment down below what you think. Follow there for all things gaming, but...
So, yeah, dudes, the Nintendo Switch 2 is a scam. You will own nothing and be happy. And, they pretty much jumped on the bandwagon. The all-digital future bandwagon. You're not going to own anything. You buy the disc or the cartridge. There's no game in it. There's no game in it. It's just a serial code. It's just like one of those key codes, like when you used to buy the old software in the 2000s. Just has a key code and that's it. You don't own it. It's not yours, baby.
I just want to interject here, guys, that it's pretty much clear to anyone who's been watching up to this point now, that's following me, that's watching all of these YouTubers freak out and melt down over purchasing a Nintendo Switch 2, that it's a damn scam. It has been a major scam. It's a terrible device with terrible performance and terrible games. It's terrible. But, I was thinking, how does Nintendo train their employees? Well, I wonder.
Yo, I thought about being a scammer one day until I realized how much work they put in. So one of my homeboys, he be going crazy. I'm talking about he hitting 20, 30K a play. I'm like, hey, bro, put me on. He like, all right, bet. I thought you would never ask. He was like, have a seat. Oh, he was like, look, bro, we're going to need a proxy server. We're going to need blanks. We're going to need dumps. And, bro, you're going to want to write this down. Write this down? Is this a class? I'm like, hey, bro, that's a lot of work. He like, nah, bro, that's not even it, bro. You're going to want to write this down and study it because it takes a lot of practice to really get it. I said, bro, why don't we just go to college? No. You're telling me I have to take Intro to Scamming 3201 to get this down? With the possibility of prison time? Nah, I'm going to just take the safe route, gang. Call me slow motion. Even that shit is hard. So there's no such thing as easy money. You working for whatever you get in life.
Except in the case of Nintendo. Nintendo thought that they were going to finesse everyone. They were going to basically pull the wool over everyone's eyes, and they were going to pull off the biggest heist in history, where they were essentially delivering the Nintendo Switch 1, just a slightly larger version, using the exact same broken Joy-Con technology that they had in the first one. It's clear as day now. The reason why Nintendo never improved the original Joy-Cons and used Hall effect is because they wanted people to be forced to go and buy replacement Joy-Cons so that they could keep on making more and more money off it. Because Nintendo is a law firm that makes video games. They're not a video game company they're not a video game company with good lawyers, which are simply with good lawyers. So they're like, well, we're going to spend a lot. We'll basically have litigation going, but it's more advantageous to just have people trying to sue us over the Joy-Cons than actually fixing them. But because of that problem with the Joy-Cons, because of Joy-Con drift, they're going to have to buy more Joy-Cons anyway, and that's going to make us more money. So it's more advantageous to scam them. And now Nintendo Switch 2, it still doesn't use Hall effect Joy-Cons. All right, it's using the same damn technology that they used in the first ones, from what we can tell, but it's not Hall effect. And this means that we will likely be dealing with, again, Joy-Con drift. And now because Nintendo has the arbitration agreement in there that you can't sue them for it, that basically means that the Switch 2 is going to wear out over time much faster than the Switch 1, and there's nothing you can do. And they can even silence you. For example, let's say you do try to go into arbitration, they'll try to like silence you so that you can't even talk about it publicly. And there were people who are calling me an idiot, saying, "Well, the arbitration agreement is illegal anyway. So what you did, what you're a lawyer, your attorney, your attorney completing the notice for you, basically opting out of the arbitration agreement is stupidity. Your attorney is a weirdo doing that." Guys, I literally had someone calling my attorney a weirdo because he protected my ass. Okay? That's what attorneys... Guys, this is how these shills operate. They get pissed off because they don't think that there are people out there that will actually jump. Nintendo wants to jump. They don't realize there's a lot of dudes that are ready to jump right now. There's a lot of dudes that are ready to leave this earth right now just to jump. Okay, after everything we've been through, Nintendo wants to jump. There's a lot of dudes ready to jump right now and scrap with Nintendo. And Nintendo doesn't operate like that. They operate through litigation, but they don't want to meet you in the streets. Say what you want about Steam, say what you want about Valve, but Valve is legendary for excellent customer service, for taking care of the consumer, for doing things like preventing ads in the games. If, for example, you have issues with your account, Sony will be like, we don't give a damn. Steam, they're like, okay, bet. Just give us a minute and let us take care of the situation. If there's one thing you really have to give Steam credit for, it's the fact that they will meet you in the streets.
This is PlayStation Support. How can we help?
Hey, so my account got hacked and I can't open it.
Oh, yeah, bad luck, man.
The fuck do you mean bad luck? I need your help.
What the fuck you want us to do? Stick in your account.
I spent over $1,000 on games over the last 12 years.
Yeah, well, you should have bought physical buds.
What the fuck?
Steam Support. How can we help?
Hey, so my account got hacked and I can't open it.
Okay, sir. Any suspicious login activity?
It says there was a login in Mexico.
We'll have your account in no time.
Okay. What's going on?
Oh, hack's been neutralized, sir. Can you log in one more time for me?
Okay. It worked.
Oh, glad it worked, sir. Thank you for contacting Steam support. Have a nice day.
So y'all out there buying and pre-ordering that new Nintendo Switch 2? Like, what in the fuck is wrong with y'all? I'm gonna tell y'all niggas right now, that's gonna be one big ass scam of your life. Now hear me out, listen. When you buy that shit, literally, you still won't own it. The Nintendo Switch company, they still own that product, bro. So no matter what you do with it, they can shut it off instantly. Modifying it, adding shit to it, they can shut that bitch off like that. And after finding all of that out like weeks ago, you still choose to buy that? Like, what is wrong with y'all, bro? Make that make sense. Because now we got two electronic products that have no business being made or bought, bro. We got the Nintendo Switch 2 launching today, and later on in the future, we got the iPhone 17. Not to mention the price of the 17 is gonna be $250. Back to the Switch though, so like, when you buy that shit, you won't own it. You'll just have the licensing. You'll just have the right to have and play it, bro. What type of bullshit ass game is that? Nintendo, what in the hell is we doing? Use your brains. If y'all trying to prove y'all better than Xbox and PlayStations, bro, this is not the way, bro. And I mean this to everybody watching this, bro. PlayStation is the top gaming console of all time. And no way in hell will y'all ever catch me buying that Switch 2, bro. When I have a good ass OLED model right here. So yeah, bro, if y'all are out there buying that Switch 2 or pre-ordering it, bro, y'all are fucking cooked.
So, guys, as I'm still working on and editing this video for you, I am now getting messages, comments from my own subscribers who picked up the Nintendo Switch 2 and that are telling me outright that they are already returning it. So let's read this. This actually just came from Eduardo. He says, 3 hours from purchasing Switch 2, people have returned them. Me, myself, I love your videos about the truth and others that others won't speak on. Wish your videos were 1 to 2 hours long. I still have my Switch 1 and it works. I will be modding it since it's mine and I have paid for it. So this is insane, guys. We have people reporting on this. I guess maybe he works in retail or he knows people that are doing this right now, but people are already beginning to return their Nintendo Switch 2s, guys. This is insane. Nintendo screwed up so badly. All right, like he said, he knows people already that have already returned theirs. Crazy, y'all. Crazy. And there are people like still celebrating this. A lot of the YouTubers that are pushing the Switch 2, that are celebrating it, they're going to basically try to act like they weren't responsible because their user base, this is, guys, they deserve it. Shout out to Fratanga Plays, all right, because he's been going in on these Nintendo YouTubers for a while. He built his base. He built his house off them. And honestly, that is not a bad foundation. He built his house off bashing and calling out the garbage these Nintendo YouTubers were doing. And now it's coming back to haunt them. So shout out to Fratanga because wow. People are already done with this BS. People are already returning the Nintendo Switch 2 and it serves them right. And the Nintendo YouTubers that have been pushing a Nintendo Switch and that were telling everyone to go out and get it and it's okay, it's going to be okay. Their fan base, a lot of their fan base is going to start turning on them. Those of them that have any common sense or reason. And even the ones who stick around and try to act like this is wonderful, they're literally crying themselves to sleep because Mario Kart World it's not even as fun as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And Nintendo's been working on this game since 2017. It was originally in development for the original Nintendo Switch, and then they decided to pivot and move it to the Switch 2, which is the reason why I predict that Mario Kart World will eventually come to the original Nintendo Switch, assuming that it's not such a complete disaster that Nintendo tries to exit the hardware market entirely, but I think it's coming to the original Nintendo Switch. I think all of those games that Nintendo's been holding back for the Switch Lite, for the Switch 2, they're going to start making their way over to the original Nintendo Switch because people are just basically going to say, yeah, I'm not picking up the Nintendo Switch 2. And of course, and I doubt Nintendo's going to walk back their policies, but they're going to try to probably clarify their policies. Like, okay, so yes, if you don't break Nintendo's terms of agreement, you don't have to worry about losing your. That's the most that they'll do. They're not going to walk back their agreement entirely. They might add additional wording, which doesn't really change anything because that's the kind of company that they are. But yeah, guys, people are already done with this. They're already saying we're done with the BS and rushing away from the Nintendo Switch 2. I just wanted to share that with you.
Okay, story time for all of you. So I just got home. What day is it? I don't know. I have my watch on. So I, very luckily, in my opinion, in April, late April, got at 2:45 in the morning 2 Switches. Switch 2, just to be clear. One from Best Buy, fought for my life, and one from Walmart. After Target, shout out to Target, let me check out and then immediately cancel my order. Fine, whatever, it's great. I understand e-commerce is a tough game. It's like trying to buy tickets. So anyway, they both got delivered today. I took the first Switch over to my friend Chris's house. Shout out to Chris. And I was like, here's your Switch. Great. We played Mario Kart. Cool. Great. And I was like, oh, I just know it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while to fucking, sorry language, transfer my user from my Switch 1 to my Switch 2. So I was like, I'm not gonna worry about it. I have a little bit of work to do. Anyway, fast forward, we go have some drinks. I come home. I'm like, oh, well, it's 12:20, but like maybe I'll set it up before I go to bed. Walmart, who I paid $500 for, by the way, sent me a box of washcloths and yogurt. Washcloths and yogurt, $500 worth. And by the way, no, not just washcloths. They're like sponge bath washcloths. I don't know how to play Mario Kart on these.
There must be some type of scam going on with the new Switch. If you didn't know, the Switch 2 is out today. I was at Target trying to buy it. By the way, it's sold out within 2 hours, they said. Anyways, this guy must have heard me asking the employee, because while I was walking out, he approached me. He was waiting at the door, right? He approaches me and he goes, hey, by the way, I work at the Costco across here and they have the Switch there. But I looked at it and something told me like, that's kind of sus, right? So I just ignored it instead of walking away. And I turned around to see if he was still there or following me. And he had darted off. Like he was already at the other side of the parking lot. Super sus. Be safe out there. Don't get scammed.
So after waiting in line for 4 hours, Best Buy turned us away with no Switch. They gave out these ticket vouchers saying that if you got one, you'd be guaranteed to get a Switch. But then all of a sudden at midnight, they said, oh, we're closed. Goodbye. They still have the stock available. They just closed the doors. And then they said, these are invalid unless you wait until 10 a.m. when the store opens again. As in, continue waiting in line from midnight to 10 a.m. There are already a bunch of bad reviews coming in. It's the Best Buy in American Fork, Utah. Let me show you what the ticket literally says. Okay, here's what it looks like. And it says limited quantities, no rain checks, ticket quantities limited. Ticketed item must be purchased during the late night event starting on 6/5/25 at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time at the store at which it was obtained. One per customer for the safety security. There's nothing on here. It's just this form here that says anything about the closing time. And the manager said, oh, well, we close at midnight. Well, the event in the East Coast started at 12:01 a.m. So how does that make sense? They obviously didn't close at midnight. So there were about 50 people in our line that had these tickets. There were way more in the pre-order line of people that were just waiting to pick up the pre-order, and just droves of people left and all these cars were leaving. It was a ton of families with little kids. People have been waiting there for 6 hours, like over 10 hours. We were only there for 4. This was handled so badly. There are 10,000 ways they could have handled it better and treated us more respectfully. People that are trying to buy a product. Like, we chose Best Buy over other stores to spend our money, over $400 of our money, and this is how we're treated.
Nintendo is literally celebrating right now over all the money that they've made. But the interesting thing is that Nintendo is a company that also panics very quickly. And they definitely remember the whole Wii U situation. And it's I'm thinking that when everything starts going to hell, the only thing that they'll be holding on to is the notion that people cannot sue them. And even that may fall apart for them, especially with the mass arbitration filings that I talked about earlier in the video. That can become a very significant reality. And if Nintendo then tries to change their policies to prevent people from then filing those mass arbitrations, that's another red flag. And even if they try to do that, it may not be possible. The reason why is because you're going to have to accept those new terms. Valve actually did the same thing where they changed it to required arbitration to no, now you actually have to go and sue them if you want to prevent those mass arbitrations, and you actually had to agree. You actually had to agree to that through the Steam client. So if you did not agree to that through the Steam client, then you're basically on the same terms where you basically said to them, hey, yeah, no, you basically told us that we're going to have to file using the arbitration system. So again, for Nintendo to now turn around and do this is an absolute joke. If they try to turn around and take away the forced arbitration requirement later on the way that Valve did, because people are so pissed off right now, it may actually get out to like a lot of people from YouTubers. Do not, if you get another update from Nintendo telling you to accept a new terms of service agreement to continue using your Switch 2, do not do it. What Nintendo is actually trying to do right now is to undo the forced arbitration clause that they put in the user agreement. The thing is, if you live in states like California, New York, or Pennsylvania, I'm just giving you examples, but California is definitely one of them, I believe, then Nintendo actually has to pay for your lawyer fees if you do file an arbitration suit. What many law firms are doing right now is they're actually getting Nintendo Switch 2, and not just two customers, but Nintendo customers together to file mass arbitration agreements that will really stick it to Nintendo. So if you have not accepted their new terms of service agreement yet, do not do so. Instead, go ahead and reach out to one of the many law firms that are now working on setting up these arbitrations against Nintendo, so that even if you don't get any money out of it, you can still stick it to them. Guys, this is where it's heading right now. Nintendo has completely destroyed their brand image. Nintendo. This is so much bigger than a Wii U moment. This is so much bigger than hey, maybe they'll get away with it and take over the world, but I don't know. Especially with this thing being so expensive. I think the Xbox 360 was $299. The Xbox One, I think that was. I don't remember how much that was. I don't know if it was $290. I don't really care, but it was much more affordable than the Nintendo Switch. And Microsoft tried to do this absolute BS with the Xbox One, where it was always on and all the other garbage. It was not even as bad as what Nintendo's doing, and they basically lost the entire console generation because of that. And they even walked back the entire policy prior to even releasing the Xbox One, but it was too late. They lost the console generation. They've never recovered. They've already lost the Xbox Series S, Series X generation. People just don't trust in them anymore. They're pushing Game Pass, and they basically want to have other people develop the hardware that you play your Xbox games on. Where this is an Xbox, your cell phone's an Xbox, your laptop's an Xbox, everything's an Xbox. It's like the Oprah Winfrey show. Everybody gets a new car, except in this case, it's basically everyone gets a new terms of service agreement. Yeah. That pretty much sucks.
Nintendo Switch 2 is finally here. 1080p at 120 FPS. That's the same resolution consoles had 10 years ago without OLED. OLED? I don't even need that. Just got finessed by a gaming company that just discovered Game Chat. Hey, don't be a hater. Game Chat's a big step forward. Nintendo's evolving. What? They're selling you Game Chat like it's a next-gen feature. You realize Discord is free, right? Yeah, okay, you got me there, but still, man, they have 25 launch titles. It's stacked. Stacked? All the classics. There's like 5 exclusive titles. The other 20 are just ports and remasters that you already could play on the Switch 1. Yeah, but it's Mario Kart, Kirby, Donkey Kong. These are the Nintendo exclusives, man. What? You paid $90 for a cardboard box with a serial number on it that you don't even own. You just don't get it, man. It's about the nostalgia, the joy, the classics, all of that. It's about the money, and they're robbing you with a smile. You're just cheering them on. I just wanted to play Mario.
What Nintendo has done here may not only damage Nintendo's image, it may also damage Sony and Microsoft, and their actions also getting called out, like Microsoft raising the prices for their games to $80 now, Sony raising the cost of their consoles, Microsoft raising the cost of their consoles, and this digital future where you essentially own nothing and you should be happy. When PlayStation 5 experienced an outage recently where their network was offline, people basically discovered that physical games they had purchased were no longer working. So they would put the physical game into their console and the game would not work, which basically tells us that even on the PlayStation 5, many of the physical games, if not all PlayStation 5 physical games, do require an internet connection, at least to some degree. So Sony is checking in on you. I mean, guys, I'm not celebrating piracy. I'm not telling anyone to go and get involved in that. But what Nintendo is doing right here is they're actually pushing more people towards being more and more comfortable with the idea of getting involved with piracy. There are videos popping up now saying that people have actually successfully figured out how to run some edits onto the Nintendo Switch. So they're basically installing not completely custom firmware, but they're going in that direction. And it's highly possible that by maybe Christmas, the Nintendo Switch 2 will be cracked, and we may actually have people already running games on the Nintendo Switch that are basically running ROMs on the Nintendo Switch that they did not necessarily purchase at the store, because the Nintendo Switch architecture and Nintendo Switch 2 architecture are very similar, but there are differences in how the games operate. It doesn't really matter. If they can crack it, they can basically let them load ROMs, and if they can let them load ROMs, there you go. And what people are saying is that Nintendo says that it's not your console, it's not your device, you don't own it, it's a license. And so a lot of these people are like, well, if buying isn't owning, then pirating isn't stealing. And of course, I'm not saying that's true, but that's exactly what they're saying. And Nintendo also has in their new guidelines that they can turn around and sue you for losses if you go and do these types of things. But most people don't actually give a damn. I mean, is Nintendo really going to sue everyone? Probably they will try, but that's the reason why hackers will tell them, okay, so just make sure that your Nintendo Switch 2 is offline when you're doing this, so Nintendo cannot determine that you're actually doing this. And if people do that, they basically permanently mod their device in a way that it no longer will connect to the internet, then yeah, you're good. In fact, modifying the firmware so that it cannot connect to the internet, that's pretty much where it's going. So if Nintendo doesn't know that you modded your device, then Nintendo can't actually prove that you modded your device. And if Nintendo cannot prove that you modded your device, there's not much Nintendo can actually do about it. And of course, I'm not, again, telling anyone to do this, and there's no way of actually doing it right now. But I am talking about the reality where there's so many people pissed off with Nintendo that it's, Valve, for example, they take a very different step with piracy. Even GOG, where they really don't go after people who pirate the games. They compete with free, that they're offering amazing deals and discounts. Nintendo, on the other hand, they're basically just trying to sell you the same damn game over and over again. And what they're doing here can damage the brand. They can damage PlayStation. It can damage Xbox, the console gaming, pushing people faster to Steam, basically, especially with Steam OS now doing amazingly well on the Steam Deck, on the Legion Go S, which is unbelievable. And we're moving closer to a place where games will run natively, where you don't even have to tweak them potentially. And maybe Valve, working with companies, will basically be able to figure that out. So you don't even have to tweak the settings right out of the box. The game will just run very, very well. And it's probably not going to be every single game, but that's really where we're headed right now. A lot of parents have reached out to me and said that they're introducing their kids to the Steam Deck, and their kids are really excited for it, or they already have a Steam Deck and they really just don't give a damn about Nintendo or the Switch 2. Even Stuttering Craig mentioned it, like his 13-year-old daughter, she plays the Switch, I believe, but she just recently found out that the Switch 2 is out, and she just doesn't really give a damn. And that's how it is when they've looked at studies recently. Based on what I've seen, it's basically signifies that Gen Z and Gen Alpha don't really care about consoles as much. In fact, they don't care about them at all, especially since they're more focused on things like Fortnite and Call of Duty that may work better with a keyboard. And they actually prefer PC gaming over console gaming. The demographic for the Switch 2, honestly, was 35-year-old guys, 40-year-old guys, 50-year-old guys, and that was the demographic for the Switch in the first place. So we all basically got finessed, and Nintendo also now just damaged their image. So parents are going to say, we've been Nintendo customers for a very long time. We're done with Nintendo. And of course, Nintendo doesn't have a soul. A company does not have a soul in general, but the people who run the company, they're the ones with the souls. And now that Mr. Iwata has passed away and Reggie has left the company, the people that are running the company are doing this. It's not just the CEO of the company that people are blaming. It's the company as itself. It's Nintendo's way of doing business. Nintendo has always been doing things like this. Nintendo has always been anti-consumer, and now it's just coming back to haunt them. But guys, let me know what you think regarding all of this. Are you surprised what's happening to Nintendo right now? People regret buying a Switch 2. People are already returning the Switch 2 based on reports that we're getting. And, this is damaged Nintendo's brand image. This is damaging the entire video game console, the entire video game industry as a whole. People don't have money to buy food, and Nintendo's charging $80 games in the United States, $100 games in Canada and Australia, evidently. $700 for the console in Australia, $629 for the console in Canada. When is it ever going to end? But only $331 or $340 for the console in Japan. Yeah, guys, they finessed us. Let me know your thoughts, guys, if you agree that this may very well be the end for Nintendo. They will not be able to recover their brand image. There potentially would be many lawsuits on the way. Like I pointed out, mass arbitrations, and guys, Nintendo has basically thought they could fight the entire world. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll enslave humanity, or maybe humanity is going to fight back, laugh at Nintendo, and they're going to be absolutely screwed. And show them that they may be lawyers, they may be a law firm that makes video games, but they're still human beings, and no one is going to empathize for them. No one's going to feel bad for them. While people love Gabe Newell and they are willing to listen to Gabe because of his humanity, people like Valve, people like Steam. Nintendo, on the other hand, has basically destroyed all of the goodwill that they built with consumers over the last couple of years and over the last 8 years since the Switch came out, and that's going to basically be gone, and they're going to have to face them. They're going to face a world of difficulty, as everyone is basically like, yeah, even if we don't make money from suing Nintendo, we'll just basically allow these law firms to file these arbitrations just to screw them over, just to get money out of them. So even if we don't make money, the lawyers make money, and Nintendo will lose hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, end up having to go bankrupt and pull the plug. And you know what? I don't feel bad for them as well. I feel like, they won't even make out like Sega because no one trusts their brand anymore. So even if they decided that they wanted to try licensing their games, they're still going to have like these crazy restrictions because it's built into their DNA. Nintendo would rather die as a company than to actually change their style, because it's just who they are and who they've always been. Even from their days as, doing trading cards, they were very, very aggressive in that market. And nothing really ever has changed. Very, very aggressive. So Nintendo's just being Nintendo, but this could be the very end for them, the beginning of the end, and I truly hope it is. Just like I'm done with PlayStation for the most part, I am done with Nintendo. And I hope most consumers go down that path. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA Men walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.